Hello YouTube. Now, I will bring up that, before I start this review, this is my favorite book. I love this book. Read like 3 times now. I'm working on my 4th. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very, very good book. Had a lot of depth into it, and it really did seem like it was well made. So I actually sort of put on my nostalgia with this movie. I'm just saying that, okay? I will have a little bit of a nostalgia for this movie. And a little bit of a fan respect for it. That's not to say the movie is bad. That's not to say the movie is bad or anything, but I'm just saying my nostalgia for the love of this book might distract me from actually being good, being the best reviewer to watch about this. If you want to watch someone who doesn't have any nostalgia on, then ironically go watch the Nostalgia Critic. And also I want to say, if you have not seen this movie, stop, refrain from watching this video. If you want to read the book or see the movie, go online, either look up an audiobook, or go to the library and get the book, or watch the movie, because I will have to give out a spoiler here to talk about the best aspect of the story. So with that said, let's review Bridge to Terabithia. Okay, so the story is that a boy named Jess is living in his less than perfect world, but to be fair, it's still pretty close to perfect. I mean, aside from having a kind of poor and not really the best family, and being kind of isolated, which is on him, not on anyone else, and not really having any friends and being picked on, it's still a pretty lucky world. I mean, there's nothing really going wrong with it. I mean, sure, there is the threat that his family might run out of money, but that's the only real big issue. So, everything has changed in his world when the girl Leslie comes in, who, of course, he doesn't like at first. But as time progresses, he starts to become friends with her. As they start to become friends more and more, they decide, let's make our own world where we can be all alone. Wait, why do we want that? Didn't we want more friends? And who cares? So, and then they start the world Terabithia, which they got on one shot. Yeah, no other time was given to the name. They don't spend like a day thinking about like, oh, I wonder what we should call this place. No, it's one try, one freaking try. Which I guess Leslie was thinking about it a lot, but why was she thinking about the name so much? That's really weird. So as their friendship begins to grow, and by friendship I mean she says something magical, and Jess is then amazed. But as their friendship begins to grow more and more, of course, tragedy strikes. Leslie is found dead from the rope of death, which broke. Apparently hanging her head on a rock and her drowning in a river. Very sad twist. You know, Disney. Da 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 death. Yeah, I think that came from most of their animated movies, but they could kill them younger, it don't matter. So from the part of him dealing with the death is actually handled very well. Like, he is having to deal with the death of his best friend, in which, yeah, their friendship actually is very good, and it's developed much more in the book back there, but it's still done pretty well here. I mean, it's definitely a whole lot more whimsical. I mean, there's far too much forced whimsy. Like, when they're painting the golden room in the book, yeah, it's still sort of whimsical and built up for magic and memories, but it still had more of a realistic feel to it. In the movie, good God, they do it far too over the top and far too whimsical. And that's basically the whole entire first third of the movie. The fourth, however, is at the end, where it's handled really well. You can tell the people working on this project said at the end, we're gonna do this thing right. I don't care what Disney says, we're doing this right. We're doing this right now, we're gonna do it good, we're gonna make this very well. In fact, I even heard something like they didn't want to do it like this. Like, I've even heard that I think that they didn't even want Leslie to die in this version. Then the maker of the movie said, no, we're not doing that. This is something that I don't want to see be done. So he kept on fighting for it to get this in. And thank goodness for it, because this is the best part of the movie. This is definitely a very emotional part. And they actually do go through a lot of feelings about dealing with a friend's death. Like, Jess has to go to her funeral, but he just feels so weird there. He just feels like he's going to see her any moment. Like he's going to see her just walk down the stairs at any moment. And she eventually never comes. Although one part that was kind of sad was left out of the movie and was in the book is that there's a moment where he asked if he can see her body, and he was sort of thinking like, hey, maybe she'll have that dress from church on, maybe she'll be wearing that with her sneakers like she normally does. That would be nice to see her in. But of course, no, they already had her body cremated. This caused him to run out of the funeral feeling emotionally destroyed by it because he thought that she was going to be buried. And he thought that would be a much better way of sending her off. But it's still very maturely done. Like, yeah, in the funeral scene, they do handle it like he just feels so alone there. He feels like he's sort of trapped there. He doesn't want to meet the reality of her death. Although, oh my god, this bully kid in this, I am so glad he was hit in the face. You know why? He is mocking him for his best friend dying. No, that's when you say, okay, no, hit him in the hit him in the freaking face. And luckily he does. I'm surprised he didn't hit him a few more times though. Because I definitely would have. But yeah, he also acts out and snaps at his sister when she tries to come into this place where him and Leslie always were, and um, he he also takes long walks by himself, and he also in a really good moment of symbolism at the end, like a very very well done moment. He sees the Dark Master following him through the woods, which is really his father trying to confront him about Leslie's death and trying to get him to finally finally face it. And he eventually is running and running, and he falls, and his dad just comes there and tries to comfort him as much as he can. He's trying to tell him, I know, it's a bad thing, it's a very bad thing. Jess is saying, okay, I could have helped her, I could have saved her if I just invited her on this thing. And he's saying, no, there's something that you would have been able to do. And this is how life works, we live and then we die. You gotta understand that, which eventually causes him to break down. So that part is really done well. That's definitely the best scene out of the whole movie. It's probably one of my best scenes in film. One of my favorites because it's just so wonderfully done. It's so good. It's so well directed. Very wonderfully done. The rest of the film is very whimsical and over the top with it, but you can tell they were trying to give the feeling of the book, which for the most part they kind of did by inhabiting it in sort of the same time period as the 70s. But unfortunately, they do still try to update it, adding in more modern things. So it feels a little bit odd when they start saying all these 70s sort of stuff. And yeah, I got it. Now there is one thing that I was glad they changed in it though, that from the 70s to more like 2007 when it was released, is that how they actually act with the TV thing. Like back then, it wasn't the strangest thing in the world to see see someone without TV. That's something that I never really got. It's like that causes most of her ridicule, but that causes most of the ridicule towards Leslie, but I never really got that. But in 2007, it's really weird to see. So there it makes a whole lot more sense. But it's sort of just glanced over there. So they don't really go into much detail about it as they do in the book. So it's kind of weird. But for the story, I actually do enjoy it. I still have nostalgia for it. I really do love it. But I'm not. That's not to say I can't admit that it is over the top and whimsical. Like they try and hammer in so many times that this is whimsical and magical, it can get annoying. So for the story, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Mainly just because of that ending. The way that it's executed, the way that it's done, it's just so wonderful. Sure, at the very end, it's kind of sappy, like, okay, yeah, now you're the princess of this place, and blah, blah, blah. It just feels kind of lame there, and you would sort of think, like, they would handle this death in a different way after watching the rest of the movie, but they do handle it very maturely, so I give them credit. So I give them credit on that. Now, on to the characters. Okay, so the characters, let's start off with Jess. She doesn't really have that much of a character to him, which is kind of what you can say for most of the characters in this movie, but yeah, this one doesn't really seem to have that much. And seeing as he's a main character, that's kind of strange. Like, okay, here's the sum of his character, is that he's sort of isolated from a lot of people, he doesn't really try to make friends, but, um, he is very imaginative through his artwork. Like, all his artwork that he does, that's something that he can really express himself through. So, yeah, that's kind of an interesting idea, but they don't really follow through with it all that much, and it's just sort of something to get him and Leslie starting to talk about stuff, and the teacher starting to talk about stuff. It went into much more detail in the book, though, that's what I can say. There's also the fact that but there is the fact that when Leslie actually does die, he gets much more of a character, being like he's kind of a shutout. Like he tries to keep people out when emotional stuff has happened to him, and his best friend dying is definitely an emotional thing. So he's like trying to keep himself isolated. He's trying to take long walks by himself. He's trying to sort of try and confront it, but he can't really do that. So yeah, that's kind of a neat thing. To see, but yeah, they don't really go that far with it, and but they do really go far with that part. It's just like it's not really explored as much as it was in the book, but yeah, I know it's an adaptation. There's gonna be some changes, and for the most part, this movie actually did follow the book pretty well. It's one of the few movies that actually does do that. Then there's the character Leslie, who, oh my god, is she whimsical about every freaking thing? I mean, good God, she whimsical about every freaking thing. Anything. Anything that she wants to be with. Anything. Like, I really, if she saw a twig lying on the ground, she can be whimsical about that. Oh, wait, no. She can actually be whimsical about a freaking rope. Oh, yeah. And she actually is whimsical about this rope. And what else can what else can she see as a whimsical magical adventure? She can see a freaking wall as a magical adventure. How? By having like a 3-minute scene with them painting a room, trying to make it as magical as possible. Now, yes, okay, that scene did happen in the book too, but it wasn't this forcefully whimsical. The book at least knew when to keep things different. They knew when to keep things, okay, we don't need to make this thing all that whimsical. It's just them painting a freaking wall. What is it going to do? It's not going to be important. It's not going to be a major plot point as to whether or not the wall will be painted. But apparently they can do it in a freaking fast time as one afternoon. And yeah, there are some moments where she can take things seriously, like with her talk with the bully, whose name I forgot, and also, wow, that's really it. kind of it, actually. She even brings her magical world into church. Um, but yeah, in the book, she did take a few more things more seriously, like, um, how there is one moment in the book where she just locks herself in the bathroom. I forgot why exactly, but she's just sort of there to be alone for a bit to sort of take her breath with everything that's going on. I think it happened because people were mocking her for something like the way that she dresses or um like the fact that she doesn't have a TV or something like that. Um, and then there's the dad, who I want to talk about really bad. This is actually probably my favorite character in the movie, or at least my second. He's a very likable character because he it's clear that he loves his family. Very clear that he loves his family. He would do anything to help them out, and he does that. He works so long. He has so many hours at work, and he does that just to keep his family on the ground, keep them well supported, and that's a really nice thing. That's very nice to see, and really is nice to see re- how he actually does try and help his son dealing with all this. Because I mean, like, he does really just treat a few members of his family sort of with love and respect. Um, I think that I sort of saw his son as like not the kind of son that I want him to be after finding out that he wants to be an artist, and that's sort of like a thing that made me think, wow, are you sure you're a man? Are you sure you are manly in any way? Um, I think that's sort of what he was sort of thinking when he heard that. Kind of changed his opinion on his son. So so again in that ending, it's much more of a big moment when you know that, when you take that into account. So yeah, he does that a lot into this role. He does sort of seem like he's trying to be a little bit of a different character than what was written for him, and that's probably a good thing. Then there's also just his sister Brenda. Wait, no, that's not her name. His little sister. I forgot her name. Yeah, there's so many characters I forgot the name of. Shun me, go ahead. Um, because I can't remember their name for talking about them. So, she's a lot like Leslie, but it makes a little bit more sense why. Because she's a kid. She's a little kid. It would make more sense why she actually acts like everything is whimsical, because she's seeing everything through the eyes of a kid. She's like, oh my gosh, anything can be amazing, and that makes sense because she's a kid in this. Leslie doesn't really work because she's like 13. Why is she acting like that? But just his little sister, he definitely has. She definitely makes more sense as to why she's more imaginative. Then there's just this teacher, which really, why did she even call him on Saturday? That's just weird. I know that she needed someone else to come to the place with her, but really, that's just creepy. Teacher, if any teacher is watching this, do not call me on Saturday. Unless if it's like a thing that we had to do that you want to remind me about. But if you're asking me to go on like a field trip thing, then that's just creepy. Um, but yeah, she doesn't have that much of a personality. Not much is done with her, and in basically the fourth part, she's completely forgotten about, aside from being seen at the funeral. Um, and then there's the bully. Um, she is pretty well done for the most part. She is like her book counterpart, but she does have some differences. Like, she does. Okay, how do I say this? She's a little bit well, she's a little bit better done here because, like, she is a little bit more of a bully just for the fact of being a bully here, which would make a little bit more sense with how she acts. Um, and also her father abuses her, which is also in the book, but here we don't really get to know what happens, and yeah, in the book they do build up like, oh my god, what happened in this part? What happened here? We really want to know what happened, but they sort of do keep it a mystery here too. And yeah, the part where she tells Leslie about her dad beating her, that's actually very sad for me to watch. Like, okay, yeah, it's pretty sad. but there's not really much to her, so yeah, she's not really that three-dimensional. Um, so for the characters, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. There's not that much happening with them. Okay, now I'm sorry that I had to stop the video. My mom came in, so yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so 6 out of 10 on the characters because there's not much to them. They're very simplistic. Don't really have that much of a personality, but they do come through at some points, and sometimes they do give out their own original material, and it does seem like they actually did try with these actors. Like, the kid actors here, yeah, they do pretty good. And no Hunger Games jokes. No Hunger Games jokes in the comments, please. I don't care to watch those movies, I never have watched those movies, nor read the books, so please no Hunger Games jokes in the comments. Although now me just bringing up, you're probably not do it. But, and so, for the movie in general, yeah, I do really love it. I have a really big amount of nostalgia for it. I really do enjoy how it's done and what was put into it. I really do like the ending especially, but that's not to say I won't admit that there are flaws. Like, it is far too whimsical, especially in the fact that they find a wall whimsical at times, for 3 whole minutes. And yeah, that can get incredibly distracting with how serious and mature they treat the death. And then you just think a little bit earlier you were watching them be whimsical about a wall. So, yeah, there's nothing really much to it. It's just kind of a fun movie for me. I really do enjoy it. I don't really have a hatred for it. I think it was fine. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. Not much to it, but I just thought it was an okay movie with what it did. Not the best, but it tried. So, for the movie itself, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. So, not that great, not the best movie, but it was still something that I really enjoyed. And next week, I'm going to be looking at a movie that I do not really enjoy. The movie Jack, with Robin Williams, who is still my favorite freaking actor. He is the best actor to me, but God, he had some bad choices in life. This being one of them. So yeah, next week, Jack. I'm not looking forward to